want me to stick around?
I don't really think so, Matt. I don't think there's anything on here that requires your, no, nope. You can sign off. If you want to start, no, I'll call you tomorrow.
We'll talk tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, bye-bye.
Okay.
All right, Elise, how are we looking?
So everybody that was in the waiting room is now in the meeting, so you're good to go.
All right, cool. Okay, so I'll kind of do a little recap here. So today is Monday, February 22nd. This is a regular Village of Oregon Village Board meeting. It's a joint meeting with the library board. We've already called the meeting to order and did a roll call, and we just came out of closed session where we were talking about considering our bargaining position in connection with the possible acquisition of one community bank building at 101 Alpine Parkway and the vacant lot at 153 Alpine Parkway. And nothing really to report from that. We are continuing to consider our bargaining position. So we are now reconvened into open session. It is 5:34 p.m. And so at this point, I would kick it off with community input. So at this time in the meeting, we ask anyone from the community to bring something to our attention, an issue, an idea, anything that's not on the agenda. Keep in mind that we can't really react or make any decisions because it's not an agenda item, but this is a time to bring something to our attention and we can put it on a future agenda. So if there's anyone from the community that would like to talk, now is your chance. I don't see anyone waving at me. Anyone's frantically trying to unmute. These are so much fun in Zoom. Okay, I don't see anyone. If something changes, let me know. We will go on to item 6. This is the joint meeting with the library board. So thank you, library board, for being here. And I will let you guys call yourselves to order and take a roll call.
Hey, it is 5:35 and I'll call the library board to order. Could I have a roll call?
Bergstrom,
Here.
Kaplan, Severson,
Here.
Nelson,
Here.
Sentui Shuda,
Here.
here, and Glish.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, library board, for being here. And I will just kind of kick this off with, I think I can speak on behalf of the entire board to publicly thank the library board. You all are volunteers. Traditionally, serving in the library board has not been a huge time commitment. It's usually very rewarding. You're doing good things, and the last year of your life has been filled with stressful meetings and lots of tough decisions. And so I want to thank you for your many, many hours of volunteer service. And you probably have been meeting with the village board more often than you'd like. So thank you for being here again tonight. So I wanted to make sure I said that because we appreciate all of you. All right, so then number 9, we have a retirement announcement effective April 10th by Assistant Director and Technical Services Supervisor Mary Davidson. And Jennifer, do you want to take this item and say some words here?
Yeah, so Mary has been a great asset to the library for a very long time, but especially the past couple years that I've been here for about 3 years now. Mary started as a part-time position for like 9 or 10 hours a week. And since then, she's done pretty much every job the library has to offer. And they said, Mary, can you do this? And then she did it. And then we kept piling things onto her list of duties. So she's going to leave some pretty big shoes to fill. We appreciate her very much. She's kind of the heart of the library. She does everything with a smile and a lot of passion, and we really appreciate her. We will miss her, but we're glad that she's ready to move on to this next phase and kind of enjoy her time as well. So thank you so much, Mary, for all you've done. We really appreciate you, but we wish you the best in your retirement.
Mary, did you want to say anything?
You are. Yeah,
Well,
thank you.
actually,
Thank you all for all your support and kindness that you've shown me over the years. It's where I'm kind of conflicted in leaving right now. I think that we're well on the way for the new building, and with Jennifer at the helm and a really good active library board, I think we'll have a lot of success in this project. So sending you all my best. I'm not moving. I'm going to be watching. Okay. I'm still here. Thanks.
Mary, maybe if there's an open seat in the library board, that's in your future. I'm just kidding. It's too early to say that probably because you're like, I just want to retire. Leave me alone. But no, thank you. I had the privilege of serving on the library board for a few years as a village board member, and Mary has just always been so professional, so friendly, so welcoming, so knowledgeable. And so all of your information and grace is going to be missed. So thank you for
Jeannie.
your 35 years of service. Holy cats. All right. So now we will keep moving along here. So item 10, and we got a bunch of items under here. This is update regarding the new library building. So item A is fundraising update.
So I think this is in the packet, but just updating you on the funds available to date. So we have the $6 million commitment from the village so far. Campaign contributions now are just over $2,057,000, and then impact fees are just under $340,000. So right now we have just under $8.4 million available for the project.
Excellent. That's a good number. All
And
right.
just to be clear too, we will continue to accept donations for the foreseeable future, or as long as we can, to be perfectly honest. So if somebody wants to help the project and they haven't yet, we are still working and accepting those.
I believe the word you're looking for is forever. Yes, we never turn down money. All right, and then next in the packet, we have an email from a village resident regarding the library building funding in support of that. So we appreciate that. And then we are going to go on to item C. This is a review of the August 14th, 2019 budget square foot analysis. And we have some architects from OPN here. We appreciate that. To answer some questions, some potential questions for OPN. And you all got these questions in advance, so I know that you have some answers for us. Let me just read these for the viewers. So these are some things that we asked OPN to talk about tonight. So we have some just as much information as we can. We asked them, how much of the contingency budget did Waunakee spend on its new library? How many and what type of energy efficient items are already included in the base construction costs? How much would it cost to add geothermal to the project? And how much more would the building cost to make it a net zero building? So Mike, I don't know if you want to introduce this more, if you want to turn over to OPN, I'll kind of let you drive it.
Thank you, Jeannie. Yeah, I sent these to Jennifer, and then she was good enough to send it to OPN, but I didn't want to surprise them. And again, you know, this is some of the questions when I was looking at the budget. I noticed, like, you know, we have I think for over $1 million in contingency. So I was curious, you know, when Waunakee built their building, how much of the contingency was spent. And so that's what led me to think. And then I was trying to think, well, we should think about making the building, make sure it's energy efficient. And we went all through that when we were meeting in the courtroom a couple of years ago. But I think it's good to go back and circle back to talk about energy efficient items in the building. And then I guess I was just curious about geothermal, if that's something that, you know, we could look at, and is something that we should think about looking at. And then, you know, everyone now is talking about building net zero buildings. And so what would that do to the cost of the project if we went to something like that?
Thank you, Mike. I have Wes Reynolds and Brett Bradinghouse from OPN who kindly came tonight, and they're going to try to address your questions.
Yep.
Do you want them to kind of walk through question by question? Would that work for you, or what would you prefer they do?
Is it okay, Jeannie, to do that?
Yeah, that's great.
Sure. Yep.
Okay. Wes, do you mind if I turn it over to you now?
Yep, absolutely. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so how about I'll just go one at a time and pause after each one and see if there's any follow-up question to it, and then if not, I'll move on to the next one, if that sounds okay. So first question, first, all four really great questions, I would say, and I love that you're thinking about the next step and layer, so great details to add here. And I'll try to be as specific as I can. Wanakee, we actually had to go back and look ourselves, so it's a good refresher some days. What was interesting is they had a set budget that they wanted to use, and the village and everyone and donations said this is what will be spent, and said we will spend all of it, was their target. So it's kind of a challenge when you look at the change orders, because the change orders are kind of blended into decisions of things the owner wanted. So those that have been there, there's a bridge across the creek, like that was an alternate and technically a change order. They didn't need that, to start day one. There was a parking, and that bridge alone was, $250,000. The parking lot was that they added was another $150,000. But when I get down to the real change orders of issues in the field, the year we built that was one of the worst winters we've ever had and one of the rainiest seasons. So, I mean, it was just a bad season to build. And, we had almost $100,000 in change orders in unforeseen conditions for the winter. And then we had some pretty significant soil issues that we knew we would get into. So we'd kind of planned for that. But then also it was a site that needed to be remediated. So then the soil costs were even higher because it was contaminated soil. So on that, there was like another $150,000 to $200,000 in change orders there. But when we actually look at the real costs of unknown, it's about 2.5% to 3% of the construction day, I would say, is probably more realistic to say we spent on that. So again, we're a group that makes sure our clients are set up for success, and we aren't, challenged at the end with not having an accurate budget. So this is day one, what you're seeing in front of you. So we keep a high contingency on that. I mean, we have more questions than answers on the design right now. I mean, we have a lot of things figured out, but we have a lot of things we don't. And so we have to keep that high contingency. So that's really kind of a high level, if that helps answer that.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep. Then for the building that I would say you have in hand, it would be similar in quality to Wanakee. It's a good performing building. I wouldn't say a high quality performing building. There's opportunity to grow, but we have good energy codes in our state, and we would be meeting and exceeding that by some level. But if we want to compare, I'm just going to use Wanakee as your comparison. They added the photovoltaic array later. So the PVs that are on the roof, they bought that out as a change order later. So that was part of their contingency. So you wouldn't have anything like that. You would have no PV array, but you'd have a good performing envelope. You'd have a good performing mechanical system. Would I like to talk about, the better and best? Sure, because those are always great paybacks for the village long-term and investments. And those are things we would want to assess as you'd ask us to move into the next round of design with the mechanical systems and what those maybe premiums would cost. Or we'd be assessing simple things like 1 more inch of insulation on the roof and what that would mean for the performance, or 1 more inch of insulation in the walls. So all those things are in the next level of asking. And then we would obviously show the village what the return on investment for those components would be. But you have a good building to start with. Any questions to that? Okay, I'll keep going. And then geothermal is a great thing to assess. This building right now would not assume you have geothermal. I looked up with our engineers a little bit on the cost. Really, the premium for you to understand on a geothermal system, the difference is the well field. So the wells that get drilled into the ground that would be on the site vertically, those are usually 300 to 500 feet. And that is the real difference. The mechanical systems, the actual equipment in the building is different, but what you trade out from a traditional system to go to geothermal, those kind of are a wash in cost. So the really cost difference is to add the geothermal field. Now, of course, a fire truck is going by, my apologies. What the difference is in cost is that geothermal, and that costs about $300,000 roughly on your building is what we would estimate that at today. And that's on the high end. The cost premium is not knowing what soils we have on the site. We would have to drill one hole. And if we have regular soils, the drillers can drill for about $2 a linear foot for depth. If we get into rock where it's just obvious, they will drill slower, they have to use higher quality bits, that turns into about $5 a linear foot. So there's your kind of just high level premium. That is what you're paying for. It's just how long it takes for that company to drill those vertical bores and the number you need. But just at a high level, we estimated, it'd probably be a premium of 300,000. But what's amazing is the return is typically about 7 to 8 years. And then it's not consuming any energy on that side of it. So the payback, depending on what community you are, and if you think that's a good time frame for the taxpayers' dollars, I know where I stand on it. I think 7 years is a very short amount of time in a building that should last as long as this does. That's a great incentive, but it's that first initial cost if you want to invest in them.
And Wes, are there any, does a line have any energy, have any grants for those that focus on energy? Does any of that come into play?
You get some dollars back from Focus on Energy. Yeah.
Okay.
So you'd have
Okay.
some extra dollars that would offset a little bit of that.
Okay.
I'd have to call them to understand where they are right now on their incentives, but they love to encourage geothermal.
Okay.
But that's already probably tied into when I say that 7 to 8 year payback.
Is
I'm
it
guessing part of that's already assumed at your incentive that you'd get as a check back from that program.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions on geothermal, or I'll go to the last one. So net zero, that's the hardest question. It's a tough one, and everyone wants to know. It's definitely hot. We've been pushing net zero probably more than anyone in this region for quite a long time. Our director of sustainability is a brilliant guy and really has been helping us and our clients get there. Our first, what we believe will be net zero building, we're waiting for its final assessment, will be the new fire station we finished for the city of Madison here, Fire Station 14. It's waiting for its last section of photovoltaics to be put on it, and then it'll be probably the first net zero building for the city of Madison. So exciting. It is doable. It's really the offset is trying to figure out typically on electrical, which geothermal and net zero go very well together. So if you go geothermal, then what we're trying to offset is really the power consumption of that HVAC in your lighting. And that's really the easiest way is to put a PV array or a photovoltaic cell array across your roof and understanding that. So we assess that very quick, very high level, what we think that would be for you. On a high level, we think it's like 150 kVA. That's the amount of power we think you would need. And that's definitely, I think, on the high side of what this building would consume. And then with that, we think that would be roughly a $240,000 to $300,000 photovoltaic array. And that's where we would do more effort for you if that was something you seriously wanted to think about investing in, and we could estimate those budgets. But at this time, you would not have anything like that in the initial cost estimates. We would never assume those are basic intents. And if you went to that, you could have easily a net zero building. And with that, really you're offsetting your energy consumption for the rest of this building's history. And that payback, we were looking at that. We think it's like a 10 to 12 year payback on that. And again, that's not knowing exactly the size. So it could be a little less than 10 years, but again, a pretty short amount of time. And then for those that are interested, then how long that system could last, the people that sell the PV say 20, but our team leader for sustainability would say he's seen systems running just as good 40 years later. So it's just, there's not a ton of it, but the other part is there's so much going on and being installing because people are really understanding the long-term return for their communities or privately. The price of PV is significantly dropping constantly. So all this is changing really right now. So it's a good timing for you to look at that. The small array that's on Wanakee, for anybody that knows that, that only offsets a very small part of that building. It was really, they wanted to demonstrate how it could work, but it does not offset the amount of power that that building consumes. So if anybody wanted to see that, you're like, well, that's all we need. No, you need a lot more than that.
So then Wes, to do the geothermal and the net zero, you got to add those costs together then, correct? So you're
Correct.
talking 5
Yeah,
to 6.
yeah.
Okay, that's about what I was thinking about. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, and I agree with your range. It's at 5 to 6 because I mean, just for tonight, because we don't know enough.
Oh, yeah.
And I worked with Jennifer and said, look, I called our engineers and everyone that we could, just trying, and we're on the high side. So
Okay.
I think it's a good conservative number for the village to take in.
Well, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, did that help your question?
Yep.
Good.
Got everything. Thank you.
Yeah, happy to help.
Can I ask Wes a question?
Yes. Mhm.
So Wes, this is Randy Glish.
Yeah, Randy.
I'm interested in, Wes, what do you think the lifespan of this building will be?
Yeah, that's a good one. It's always down to the individual materials, but we're easily building you a conservatively 30-year building, but it's probably more like a 40 to 50-year building.
Okay.
It's the roofs that usually are the offsets. I think, you're going to have a lot. What we've designed so far is a lot of masonry on the exterior. So that's a long-term investment, right? There's not a lot of deterioration on that. Maybe there's some tuck pointing somewhere in year 40, depending on how it weathers, but it's most of it's for the exterior envelope is in the roof and the quality of windows we would put in. And then on the mechanical system, it's just the equipment tires out at, 25 years, 20 years, some of it. So that's where, it averages out to call it a 30-year building.
Okay.
If we go the geothermal, there's a little less equipment and a little higher quality equipment that comes with that. So that would be where, that return lasts you a little longer as a community.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jeannie, I just had a clarifying question for Wes. So you're not saying that the building is unusable in 30 to 50 years. It's just that some of those major systems would be due for replacement. But theoretically, it could be 80, 100 years of, as long as it's upkept.
Oh, yeah. This is a building that could last 100 years, right? This is going to be high quality structural steel and metal studs and brick. There's nothing, maybe there'll be some minor things you got to repair over the years, but most of the piece you have to upgrade are finishes. The carpet's going to only last you so long. And some of the exterior, every building unfortunately has caulk. I can't wait to design one that doesn't have it, but it deteriorates, right? So eventually you'll need to recaulk the windows and everything else. So it's maintenance. It's not this building's lost its complete life in 40 years. Not at all.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a part of that.
Any further follow-up questions for Wes? All right, well, hang out, Wes, because we may have more coming up.
Yeah, no, we're here.
All right.
You tell us when you want us to leave. Thank you.
All right, so then next we're moving along here. So item D this is a discussion with Dave Ferris from Ehlers, and this is regarding Ehlers' analysis of the following impacts on village's future tax levy and capital improvement plan if the village board would increase its current borrowing of $6 million to one of the following amounts for the new library building, which would allow the project to break ground in 2021. And this is an important note. The analysis that Dave's going to talk about tonight assumes an interest rate of 3%, applying library impact fees of 40 homes at 1,000. Mill rates are per thousand of value with no growth, zero growth, and the average home value of 320,000. So these are based on just about the most conservative bad case scenario that we can imagine in Dane County. And this village board has a history of doing that because we're spending taxpayer dollars. So we try to plan a worst case scenario, and then we're happy when that doesn't happen. And then we have a little bit extra budget money to fix more roads or do whatever we want. But I always, those are the folks on the village board usually know that this is what we plan on, but just for the public, just know that we plan very, very conservatively. So Dave, if it's okay, or Mike. When you guys
I-
want to go from here?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one little clarification, something that Dave caught this morning, that the charts that are in the packet do not include applying the impact fees, Jeannie.
Oh,
And
okay.
so then Dave reran it, and I thought rather than confusing everyone and putting up new charts, but basically when you look at like for borrowing $6 million on an average house, it's $100. When you apply 40 impact fee of 40 dwelling units, it drops to 90. It's like $10 off of each value. So
Okay, that's good to know.
Yep.
Board members, just keep that in mind.
But you are very correct that this is very conservative. This is level principal and interest. This is a higher interest rate than we would most likely pay for the borrowing. And so, we're not showing any growth. And I think why Dave and others does this is that because you borrow the money, you're going to pay it back in 20 years. It's a very good chance that at some point we're going to hit a recession. So you try to balance it out. And, when we sit in our planning staff meetings and commission meetings, we see all this potential growth to happen. And if it does happen, we're going to get more impact fees. We're going to get more value. But, we're just, as you said, Jeannie, we're planning for the worst case scenario.
Yeah. All right, Dave, do you want to walk us through some of these things?
I sure can. Or Mike, do you want me to share my screen with a spreadsheet that actually shows that $10 difference? Do you think
Yeah,
you can pull it up?
That'd be great. Thank you. Yep.
I can just show the 6 and the 8.
Or is that
So-
Elise? Did Elise just do that or you just do that?
That's Elise. Elise, do I have access?
Yep, let me change one setting here so you can share your screen, and then I will stop sharing and you should be able to bring yours up.
Let's see if I can share the right screen. Otherwise, who knows what you'll see. So I actually have all the columns open right now. There's a lot of numbers, so I'll try to make it really simple. Like Mike said, when we let's see.
So Dave, that's the old one. That does not include the impact fees.
Oh, it does. Are you not able to see this?
It showed. He goes, well, the one that came in the packet was $100.44.
Yeah, that's over here. That's over here on the right.
Yeah, but
So
the one
when I found it, so this on the right is where we were before, and I built in the impact fee column here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
And so it's actually these columns that we'll focus on, but
I got you.
and
Sorry.
I'll hide these other two after I kind of explain. So when Mike sent this out and I read the agenda and it said that it had impact fees applied, I went, I don't remember seeing that in here. So we ran it again, and so this is what's in your packet is out here that doesn't include the impact fees. And so I'll just hide those, and we won't.
I'm not
even worry
confused.
about it.
Thank you.
All right. So for the $6 million, I was kind of hoping I could do this. Well, first of all, like it says in the packet, we assumed 3%. Well, right now we've got extremely low rates, and when you're talking about another year and a half from now, it's not really easy to tell you what your interest rate risk is by having to wait until then. But one good indication is kind of looking at the state local government investment pool. Anything that's a 10 to 20 year loan is more like 4%. So I think a 3% right now is kind of a good solid estimate to use for this point. And hopefully we don't have an increase and we'll save money on the financing, but I think that's within a reasonable rate. We have the 40 homes in here now. The mill rates are equalized tax rates, so they aren't assessed. So if you looked at your tax bill, you'd want to look at the market value, not the assessed value. So if you took your tax bill and you multiply the market value of your home times the equalized tax rate, which is the market value tax rate, you should be pretty close to the same thing as if you took the assessed value times the village's assessed tax rate. So that's kind of a little explanation. And then the 320,000 is something that Lisa and Mike kind of track on an annual basis as far as the average home in the village. So reading the numbers, this is just kind of the debt service schedule that we would use. It's a level principal and interest application, which is an easier way to kind of show you on an annual basis how much it could cost. The only way to make that really smooth is we had to go with no growth. We know that's not going to happen in Oregon unless, we have another crazy 2008 to 2012-ish kind of a time. So you take the debt that you would have, this level principal payment, we apply, $40,000 of impact fees we're estimating, and then we kind of get a level impact to the tax rate. So let's say it's $375,000 on average each year. You divide it by the growth or the amount of equalized value of the village, which is right now is like $1 million or $1,310,000, and you get a tax rate of basically about 28 cents per thousand of value. So that translates into that average house that we talked about for $320,000 on a $6 million cost library or contribution from the village is about $91 per average home on an annual basis. So just to show, same concept, I won't go through every piece of it. If we were to do an $8 million contribution from the village, it'd be about $510,000 of tax impact, which is about 39 cents per thousand. And on a $320,000 home, that would be about $124 to $125 per home or per $320,000 home per year. Do you want me to go into anything higher than that, Mike?
Why don't you just finish going through it, please? Yeah.
You want me to do the 9 and 10 million?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
so I'll just be brief on that one. That for a $9 million contribution, it'd be about 44 cents per thousand or $141 per year for that average house. And then on a $10 million library, it'd be about almost 50 cents per thousand or about $158 per thousand on that average home per year. Do you want me to talk about the debt capacity right away, or do you want to go to questions? Okay. I think Elise, you can take me back to the packet on that one. That might be easier.
Okay.
So let me stop sharing.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Did you want to go to one of the graphs?
Yeah, let's go to that one.
Yep.
So for the $6 million library, basically this is the village's CIP that got approved in the fall, correct, Mike?
It's not technically approved, but it's still in the draft form.
Okay. So I think this is what was being talked about around budget time. So both this $6 million contribution and $8 million contribution has the CIP the way it stood during budget time. So by the village contributing $6 million to the library, there's a lot of projects that are involved with the CIP. So we reach our peak in 2025, which is the last year that we actually have projects in this 5-year plan. And we hit 78.2% with that. And I believe when we were doing this, we were actually projecting about I think it was like 2% or 1% per year. I think it was 2% for a little bit of time and 1% growth for the rest of the time. So it's still pretty conservative based on what you've had recently. Any growth obviously allows us to spread that debt across more value, which you'll have a higher debt capacity. I suppose what I should do for the people that don't know debt capacity for a municipality, the state statutes say that you can use 5% of your equalized value to issue general obligation debt, which is debt that is backed by the tax levy. So in the case of the village, actually, I think the next page probably demonstrates this a little bit better numbers wise, which will drive people crazy. But so if we have $1,312,000 of equalized value, which is this first column, we can have 5% of that, let's say $1,312,000. We can have 5% of that in total in general obligation debt. We kind of talked to the village board a little bit about establishing a policy, and I think that staff we're heading towards recommending a 75% capacity as a self-imposed. And that would put it about $49 million that the village board would be willing to have money as a total ever in general obligation debt. At this time, the village, let's see, let's go to the 2020 number. At the end of 2020, the village had about $22.4 million in debt, which is 34% of the debt capacity. So you can tell we're at 34. We're saying we'd like to see the board establish a top number of 75. So you basically got half of your capacity available to put into projects in the future. And it doesn't mean that you have to be at 75%, but that's the highest level that staff would like to maybe put as a policy. So this is the $6 million contribution, which, like I said, gets you to about 78% in 2025. You can see that we've gone over that 75%. That's where that negative $2,100,000 is. Do you want to scan to the next? I don't have to go through the numbers version again, but in this case, what we have is if we add $2 million of debt on top of the CIP for the library's or the contribution to the library, we would potentially hit an 81% capacity number. I think what you'll find though is staff has said that if the library board, no matter which one it picks, that there's probably back to the drawing board to kind of maneuver projects so that we are under that capacity level. So I think it's kind of up to the village board as to what they want to do. I think the end goal of staff would be to still be under the 75% no matter which version you pick. Is there anything else you want me to cover, Mike? I mean, I do just have kind of a real, at the end of it, I had kind of what are the projects at a real high level. But that was mostly informational, but I'm happy to answer questions on that as well.
Yeah, and I'll say Dave is right. Lisa and I are going to, no matter what we borrow for the library, we're going to come back with a revised CIP schedule that gets us to the 75% mark in 25. That is correct.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dave. Thank you, Mike. Board members, village board members, any questions for Dave on those numbers? Library board members, any questions? Thank you for putting that together, Dave. That's something that we've been asking and talking about for a while as a village board. And so it's, it's always nice to make a decision with actual hard data and facts. So,
and like we talked about, there's a few things that, growth obviously allows that a little bit of flexibility, but we wanted to give you a number that you could say, okay, we feel that, in a worst case, not really worst case, but in a conservative fashion, this is how much it's going to cost to do this contribution.
Excellent. We appreciate that. All right, so we'll keep those numbers in front of us. Next item is possible village board action regarding borrowing for new library building. All right, so we've this board, previous board has committed to borrowing $6 million for a new library. And as you all know, I've been kind of driving this a lot the last few months, been making my case. And so I'm happy to sit back and listen to some discussion. I'll make my quick statement of that I know that the village isn't a business, but as a small business owner, I run a business with an eye to the future and investing in the future and super focusing on return on investment instead of short-term gains. And so, as you know, I've actually made like financial cases before. A couple months ago at a meeting, I ran down some numbers. And I personally believe that a new library has the potential for very good return on investment for bringing sustainable growth to the village. Growth equals more taxes, equals more revenue. So that's my short version of what I have talked about in the past. So I will stop talking now and let other board members talk if anyone has thoughts. Village board?
So Jeannie, I won't say, I have a number in mind, but I just want to say, from somebody who's been working on this for over a year, the way I sort of see that this project is that this is something that we're building for the future, and it's for everybody. And this, I absolutely agree with you that having a nice library is going to be a great attraction, I think, for families to want to move here, which means more houses, more economic development. Of all the projects that I have worked on, this one makes the most sense to me. Because I think it's for everybody. It's an investment in how we feel about the village. And you see, I'm getting sort of emotional, but this is, I think this is important for the village. And I know it's another, I'll say that another $2 million, but sometimes you have to put in the money to get it back, it's worth spending. If we believe that our village is a great village, which I think all of us do, sometimes you have to put in a little money. And our residents deserve this. We know we have support. We raised over $2 million during a pandemic. That has to say something about how our residents in our community, we asked and they came to help us. That's the most money that we've ever raised on a project. So I don't want to cry, but I think this is one of the best, for me, this is one of the best projects that I've had the opportunity to work on since I've been in the village. And I just don't, in a way, this is going to be the board's legacy. Everybody here tonight, what happens? I don't see a downfall to this. So I'll sort of stop and stop blubbering around here and let everybody else talk. But that's how I feel. My gut tells me this is what we should do. So.
Thank you, Randy. Amanda, I saw your hand up. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. So this is one of the huge reasons why I ran to be on this board. I made it part of my platform. That was 3 years ago. And at that time, when the vote happened, I was saying I would have gone for 8 million personally. I think a library is important. And now we're 3 years later, and I see costs have gone up. And I'm actually leaning towards 10 million. And that's because of a few reasons. Okay, I know people get sticker shock, but let me explain my thought process here. First of all, return on investment for libraries. Public tax dollars spent on libraries in the state of Wisconsin is 4 to 1. Every dollar you spend, the community gets $4 back. That is a tremendous return on investment. A library, since we're going to spend this money, we need it, it's a community resource, but this is a destination library. Especially if we put geothermal on it and solar, people will come from other communities to see this, and they'll stay and they'll spend dollars. It will help our businesses. It will help everything in our community. It's a gathering place. It's a wonderful central part of our community that everybody uses. And I think if we provide $10 million, and that's the numbers, again, I want to stress, conservative. I don't think any of us expects zero growth, all right? But if it were to happen, this is about the only project where I would be willing to go above 75% of our debt capacity because of the return on investment, because of a library's importance to a community. It's that big a deal to me. And I don't want to be looking at retrofitting things later and thinking, oh, we should have gone and paid the extra money and gotten that thing because it would have saved us money or whatever. I'm all in. I'm in for 10 million plus whatever we fundraised, and we're going to get a nice library, and it's going to pay us back. And I think sooner rather than later. So that's where my head is at.
Thank you, Amanda. Appreciate that. Other village board members, any thoughts? Yes, Mr. Bollig.
Yes, thank you. I guess the first question I have is going to be for staff. I know the library board originally was talking about constructing a 33,000 square foot facility. How much money is that going to require? If we use the geothermal and all the green energy whistles and bells that we're talking about here.
I think I would turn back, Jerry, to 10C, the budget in the packet.
Yeah, so Jerry, so if you go to 10C, they have a low investment, a medium
Yep.
investment, and I don't know what that says, high investment.
And then there's, yeah, I think so.
And they have inflation numbers on the bottom. So I'm gonna go up. Mike, would it be fair to say that geothermal and net zero is high investment?
Wes.
I can jump in there for you, Mike.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would
thank
be
you.
that would be more in the high investment because it's not something exact. So if you said what's exactly in high investment, I couldn't tell you. You could choose to put stone on the building and have not a quality mechanical system. So it's just it's weighing whatever the community want. But you could have geothermal and high and a nice exterior skin. So I think that's fair to say, interpret it that way.
Okay. So Jerry, do you see those numbers on the bottom? So let's look at 2021 or 2022 numbers. You're looking at like 12.4 to 12.8 million.
So basically 12 million.
Or yeah, a little bit more.
Okay. And if I understand the rest of the overview we've had here today, I need more paper. We've got, right now we've got funds committed of 8.4.
That's correct, Jerry.
Yeah, so we need to add another 4 million to that, correct? Which would take the village contribution up to $10 million.
I would say that's correct if we want to do things like geothermal and
Right. Right. I think we want to make this a green building if we're going to build it. And at $12 million, I just want to bring up one more point that the village taxpayers have already contributed $1 million in the form of that lot that the building will be built on. And none of that shows here, but I think it's worth mentioning at this point. So how do we explain to the seniors, the less fortunate, and the shut-ins, how do we explain what they're going to get for that $12 million? I know we need a new library. I have no question about that. We definitely need a new library. And with that new library, we're going to have more staff. So how do we justify that with those people that are, again, retirees, less fortunate, those on a fixed income? Any thoughts on that?
Those are good questions, Jerry. I'll start out and let other people thinking. I would say we continue on the path that we are of working with developers to continue to build more affordable housing for seniors. We have the project going forward right now with Lakestone Properties on the east side. They've committed one building to being for seniors. For me, this library project kicks off a succession of plans that this village board has been talking about for years, with the next plan being building a new senior center with, in my mind, at least 2, maybe 3 levels of affordable senior housing on top. And we work with a developer to take advantage of all the WIDA credits. So that's how my mind works, Jerry. My mind's always working on long-term vision, return on investment, figuring out how we can get people of all ages, all income levels to continue living here and continue moving here, and not so much focusing on today, right now. So I'm sure there's lots of data and statistics out there on how libraries benefit folks on fixed incomes and seniors. I don't have it in front of me.
No, that's fine.
Oh, okay. But do you get what I'm saying?
I understand exactly what you're saying. Yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts?
Jeannie?
Yeah, go ahead, Randy, and then Amanda.
So one of the things that I want to make to say is that we don't lose sight of is the projects that I mentioned earlier, the pump house, the Tin Man, the food pantry, the youth center, all of that was done with 0 or very little on the Tin Man, very little tax dollars. So we've done some wonderful several $1 million of projects that didn't cost the taxpayer anything. So as we're sort of looking at having to borrow more money for the library, I think we just sort of need to keep that in the back of our mind, that we've done some really great projects with zero tax dollars. And yes, I know we have to borrow, but this may be the time to do that. We've saved a lot of money in the past, but now we have to do this for the library. So I just want to make sure that we remember that those buildings were all done with public money.
I saw how about let's do Amanda, then Jenna. Is that okay?
When I was looking at the numbers, and I don't know if we can put the chart back up or not, looking at the tax bill for that's the numbers of the how much it is per year, how much it would cost each person for like an average $320,000 house. We've committed to $6 million, and that was about from what I saw about 90 something a year. If you have a
at least
right?
you got to keep going to the top of the.
Keep going back to that.
Go.
Yeah.
That's one more page. There you go.
So 6 million. Yep. Thank you. Yeah. So those are like, roughly 90 something dollars a year. And then you look at the 10 million, if you scroll to the next page, at least then it goes up to 167. We're looking at a difference of about $67 a year between 6 million and 10 million. So we're not looking at a huge increase, and that's on a $320,000 house, which I don't have. I don't know, but like I don't, that's maybe an average, but my house is less than that. My taxes wouldn't be that much going up, and plus this is at a 3% interest rate, which we don't anticipate. The rates are really low right now. We'd probably get it for less than that. So for lots of reasons, I don't think that the taxpayer, the difference between 6 million and 10 million is a huge difference. And then the other thing, to your point, Jerry, talking about older people and people who are shut-ins, they benefit from the library. The library services those people. They can deliver books and things, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, but I think there's programs for that. Yeah, she's nodding. So, this will benefit them too through use of library services.
So Jeannie, can I just make a point of clarification? And I should have said this at the beginning. Sure. And so this has nothing to do with borrowing 6 or 8 or 9 million. So this is just the increase for the library borrowing, Amanda and the rest of the board. You also have to consider the rest of the debt service for the CIP and the operating increase. So I just want to make sure people, okay, make sure you knew that. Yep.
Yeah, I just was looking at the library, but
Yep.
certainly there's other
Right.
other projects we're going to be funding.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think what Mike was saying is that there are other costs,
Yeah.
such as staffing and debt service and.
Yeah, you have operating, and then the rest of the debt service on an annual basis, and then so the library is part of the overall debt service, but so you're just looking at one project versus looking at the total CIP that we're gonna bring back to the board at some point. So to make sure the board knew that, that's all.
Well, all right, Jenna, yes, please go ahead.
So from my perspective, when I think about just the library in and of itself and what we should invest in the library, I think about adding the $8 million to make sure that we're having a library that's the size that we need and that we can grow into. But when I then take into account the fact that we want an environmentally responsible and sustainable building, and when we want to make sure that we're, by developing this area, also assisting the neighbors with issues that the potential building could be impacting, such as water. I think I'm now leaning more towards, actually not leaning more towards, I agree with Amanda on the $10 million, because I think that we're going to, if we don't use it all, great, but I am worried specifically with the stormwater management issues that could potentially arise, that we're going to end up needing more than we currently think that we do. And so I would rather be prepared now for that and having those conversations now versus waiting and being reactive to things. So so that's why I'm advocating for the $10 million. And I think, Jerry, to your questions about how we address this with folks who are struggling financially, I think we talk about it, but one of the other things that we need to also be talking about is that this is one component of our budget, and we still have multiple years of budget processes that we can look at reprioritizing different needs and projects depending on what is going on in the village at that time and what's going in our economy. So there is some flexibility with how we move forward as a board and how we prioritize our spending and our budgeting as well, which can help with the impacts of this project.
Thank you.
Hey, Jeannie, could I say something from the library point of view? So the library itself is meant to serve everyone. It's not just for the young families, it's for the seniors, it's for the shut-ins, it's for the low-income people that need access to internet, which we've seen during the pandemic is huge. We have so many people sitting in our parking lot using the internet to be able to have that access. And that's what the library is for, is everyone's access to the spaces. So the idea of being able to have those businesses come in, have those meeting spaces, be able to generate potential ideas that way, as well as have some of those low income people be able to come and sit, have a place when it's negative 20 degrees outside to sit and stay warm and use the internet. To me, the library is really a place meant for those people. It's meant for everyone. And we're building something for the entire community. When you're talking about operating expenses, additional library staff, we've tried the last few years in our budgets to create budgets that allow for that added staff when we need it without overburdening the taxpayers. We're very, very conscientious about what it is that we're using, how we're staffing, even the building, the way it was designed, potentially is to minimize the amount of staff we need. That's why we don't want a third floor, because we need more staff. So we've tried to address a lot of the concerns that you have just with the design, as well as being very practical. And even the idea of the extra money for the geothermal and the solar, right? That helps with your expenses in the next how many years, 7-8 year payback. And then you're not having those operating expenses. There's always maintenance expenses to fix mechanicals, right? But you're not paying that electric bill. You're not necessarily paying that geothermal bill that you would be if you just have a general air handling unit. So I think that taken all in, I think we're trying to do the best for the community and for the taxpayers. So that would be my input.
That was very well said. Thank you, Jenny. That was what I was trying to figure out how to say. Yes, Jerry.
Yes, first I want to thank everyone for that very informative discussion. That was exactly what I was trying to generate when I asked my question, because that is the question I'm being confronted with right now. But that was very, very good, and I'm glad everybody who contributed did contribute. And I spoke to both Mike and Jennifer Way this afternoon about that very issue, and I learned some things about the library that I had forgotten, and when it comes to cost, I think that the library is a place you can always count on to go to. Unfortunately, though, we have one of the smaller libraries in the area, and it is very outdated right now. And I want to go on record right now as saying that I'm going to support a $10 million borrowing. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Jeannie, just one comment. I keep going back to this. And Jennifer, tell me, or somebody tell me if I'm wrong. When the current library was opened, or opened the doors, it was already too small. Am I correct in that? I've heard that it was already too small, the current library.
Yeah, Randy, sorry, Randy, I wasn't around when it opened, so I can't speak to that, but
yeah.
I'll tell you, we're using every square foot, especially with the pandemic and needing the social distance. It's really brought light to how well we were using this every square inch of the space that we had, and then some of the needs just kind of amplified. So that's what I can speak to.
So typically, I mean, I always watch my dollars and all that sort of stuff too, but I also do always, there's the other side of me that says, if you're going to build this thing, let's build it correctly. Let's build it big enough. Let's build it. I love the idea of the thermal stuff. Let's not like, it's like when you see somebody building a brand new house and they have 3 windows in the house. They went cheap on the windows for the rest of the house. If we're gonna do this, let's do it right. And let's do the thermal. Let's try to figure out how to make it energy efficient, the right size. And people have said this, but this is a really, when I think of a library, it is a gathering place. There is a sense of place there. And I think that's going to be noticed right away. And that's what libraries do. There's something about when you go in a library, there's a special feeling about being in libraries. So if we're going to do it, let's do it right. Thanks, Jeannie.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion, and I'm going to guess that there's going to be a fight on who to second this. So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that the board commit to borrowing a total of $10 million for a new library construction. Randy
I got it.
apparently. I don't know, Mike, if there's a way to do multiple.
Can we do a joint second?
There was a lot of interest in that.
No, only one second.
All right. It goes
Why don't we do a roll call? Do a roll call.
Well, no, but I think Jeannie's just talking about a second. So who I'm sorry, did Randy second?
I had my hand up.
Yeah. All right. So we have a motion and a second to borrow. Yep. And good idea, Jerry. I'll do that. We have a motion and a second to borrow $10 million to build a new library. And just to clarify for the public, that $10 million would then be added to fundraising, impact fees. It'd be in addition to the land we've already purchased. So I would guess Peggy, Amanda, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, quick clarification.
Yes.
Are you saying we should borrow 10 million or borrow up to 10 million?
I'm saying we should borrow 10 million.
Okay.
So,
Well, I mean, if we needed less, like we're not locked into borrowing the full 10 million if we don't need it, right? I'm just trying to clarify.
When I look, no, my motion is 10 million. And I'm making that motion because when I look at those high investment numbers, 21 and 22, and these numbers were generated over a year ago, we need $12.8 million. So if the village commits to borrowing 10, we have another, let's hope maybe by then we have another 2.5 million fundraised. We have 380,000 in impact fees. That gets us to the 12.8. And that's a good green building, which is what we want to do.
And Ginny, that was my assumption when I second.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we don't have to spend it if by some miracle, you know.
So that's true, Amanda. So we commit ourselves to borrowing 10 million, and then I don't know if some sort of angel donor moves into town and says, I want my name on this building and I'm giving you 10 million. Well, then we just build some more really nice infrastructure.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Jenna, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna add that just because we borrow 10 million doesn't mean we'll spend it all. And if whatever we don't spend, we can pay back towards what we took out. It's just, I think from my understanding, and where is he? David Ferris could probably correct me if I'm wrong, but we borrow it all at once because there's fees associated with it. So we don't want to take out little bits at a time as needed. Is that right? My understanding?
Well, we don't want to go over $10 million annually. So we're going to, you know, if this motion passes, then we're going to have to go back and look at the CIP, and we may end up splitting the borrowing for the library in 2 years. And that's one of the items we're going to, under F is actually looking at the borrowing schedule with both boards in an upcoming board meeting.
Yes. No, I guess I meant for the project. We don't just borrow money as we need it. The whole lump comes at once, and then.
No, actually,
not necessarily the total 10 million, but whatever we're borrowing for that year.
Just to add on to that, I'm still here. So we don't want to lose bidders. So we try not to go over 10 million in a year. So we'll have to figure it out so that we can do our CIP projects as well. But we'll want to stay away from that 10 million because once you go over 10 million, banks can't really participate. So you lose some bidders out of that. And I think we'll want as many bidders as possible, make sure that interest rate's as low as we can get it. So I think, you know, what we'd probably do is try to borrow in the fall or whenever you're trying to have the money for, and then get over that, you know, December 31st line and borrow the rest of it or whatever chunks we have to do it in.
Yep.
Excellent. Yes, Jerry.
One last closing thought. And any seniors that might be listening, I don't want them to lose heart. We are working on a plan to get the senior center rolling quicker than 2024. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And beyond that, this new library is the right thing to do right now.
All right, Peggy, I think we are ready for a roll call vote on the motion.
Bollig,
Yes.
Carpenter,
Yes.
Glish,
Absolutely, yes.
Jacobson,
Yes.
Stitch,
Yes.
and Peterson.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, board members, for an amazing discussion and years and years of work on this. If the public is watching, you can tell that some of us got a little emotional over that.
Well, we started talking about this back in 2016, so it's been it's been 5 years of discussion.
So I always tell people one good thing about municipal government is that we don't do anything quickly.
No.
And and some people see that as a bad thing, but what that allows us to do is it allows us to make the most thoughtful decisions possible, I think. And so what you saw tonight was the culmination of really thoughtful discussions and ruminations. So thank you everyone for your time. Thank you, library board. I'll let you go ahead and adjourn if you'd like to.
Jeannie, can I just say that if they could put March 15th and April 12th, this is placeholders on their calendars right
Oh my
now.
God, I totally forgot about item F.
That's
I got
fine.
so
You're
excited.
fine. You're fine.
Okay.
Because now we're gonna have to be Jennifer reminding me. That's why I did it this way. We're gonna have to amend the MOU, and then as I was mentioning before, looking at the borrowing schedule, and then Jennifer wants to definitely talk about construction management and or commissioning services for the project. So we're thinking we may. I'm not sure we're going to have the schedule done by the 5th. Those 2 meetings, we can address all those items.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, and those are those regular village board
Yep.
meetings?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So
And
we're,
Mike,
go ahead.
can we speak at that meeting? Can we speak about cost per household for the borrowing we approved tonight?
Sure. I mean, just go back to those same numbers.
I'll go back at we didn't really spend a lot of time talking about how much per household. And I just want to reiterate that so people know what to expect.
Well, the per household was for 6 million was $90, and
Yeah. We did.
For 10 million, it's $157.
Yep.
But yeah, Jerry, we can keep talking about that and try to figure out how to keep working on that number.
I want to have it a future discussion because you never know, something could happen to reduce that amount.
Sure.
So,
I'll put it on one of those agendas, Jerry.
thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, knowing this board, we will keep talking about that for a while.
Because we're gonna keep trying to reduce that number, is my sense.
Oh, Jerry, you want me to find a couple more million, huh?
10 would do it.
All right, library board, would you, I'm not trying to kick you out, but
No. First, I want to thank the village board so much. I can't tell you how much this means to us and how excited we are to keep going with this and to provide a new building and a new space and this service to everybody. This is overwhelmingly, and I just want to say thank you for that. And then for the library board, I need a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make that motion.
I got your second, Kyle.
Okay, so all in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. So now we are going to go in with public appearance. We have a discussion with SRF regarding the following. Jeff, remind me what SRF stands for again.
SRF Consulting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. That was helpful.
Well,
Okay.
Jeff Knudsen will probably share with us.
Okay.
That,
Okay.
He may not know that. It's one of those things. Go ahead.
All right. So, so we have a public appearance discussion with the following. So we had commissioned some studies of roads at intersections. So tonight in front of us, we have the Foxfield Road Speed Study. We have the Lincoln Road Speed Study. And then we have the Janesville Street and South Perry Parkway intersection with a preliminary design. All right, so Jeff Knudsen is here.
Yes,
Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
exactly.
I'll let you guys tag team this.
I'm going to let them kind of take this. Basically, this was following some concerns from residents and board members of, obviously, with the punching through of Foxfield to County Highway this last year was a big connection. And there were some concerns at the Liliana or the Katy Lane intersection over speed and the possibility of the need for a stop sign at that location. So we wanted that evaluated both for speed and warrant analysis. And then as some of the speed transitions and the speed coming out of Lincoln Road, as you come out of what used to be the former part of the village, now it's all village along Lincoln Road there. So Jeff, I'm going to let you guys and SRF. First of all, the question is, do you know what SRF is?
Yeah, it's a good call. SRF was the last initials of the first three people that owned the company back in the 50s and 60s. So now it's just SRF. It's not really stands for much of anything, but yeah, it used to be 3 people.
Yes.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, my name is Jeff Knudsen, traffic engineer in Madison here at SRF. On the Foxfield study, yeah, back late last year, we put traffic count tubes down, and those helped us get the speed limits out there along Foxfield. We did find that the average, or like the typical person, was traveling between 20 and 29 miles an hour. So we call that the pace. That's a 10-mile-an-hour speed of the motorists out there, was pretty much right in line with what the speed limit is. So there's not a whole lot left to really talk about on the engineering side. I mean, if there is some folks that are traveling, faster than the speed limit, there's things to do, such as, adding flags to the top of the speed limit signs. You can increase the size of the speed limit signs. But short of a neighborhood traffic calming system, there's not a whole lot of other recommendations we can offer for that. They were really traveling pretty much in line with what we would expect.
And I think, Jeff, maybe you would agree with this. My experience sometimes with these situations has been sometimes what is perceived as speed and what is perceived as a problem may not actually show up as a problem. And that was kind of the impression from some of the residents, is that people were just ripping through this neighborhood. As with any speed study, you're going to have a few outliers. You'll always have someone that goes by and 45, 50 miles an hour, and it scares the crud out of you, and everything. But in general, the speed showed that it was right where it really expected to be. And that was also confirmed with data that we had from Oregon Police Department and our speed trailer out there.
Right.
Yep. It's consistent.
Yeah, and so I'm sure there's always places for enforcement. And Chief, I know you'd probably agree with me, is it's always a spot to watch, but has not been as much of a problem as at least at this point.
Yeah. Yep, that's right.
And then you want to talk about the warrant analysis for kind of whether or not there was a need for a stop control, like a 3-way stop control at Katy Lane. And,
right. Yeah. I mean, there's pretty standard guidelines for such a thing. The manual on uniform traffic control devices is kind of the universal guidebook for installing traffic control devices, and that particular location does not meet what we call a warrant. It doesn't meet the conflict of traffic volumes that you'd expect for an all-way stop or a 3-way stop. So we don't recommend doing that at that location.
So staff recommendations, at least on this, and what we wanted to do is bring this to you mostly just tonight, just as an FYI and for discussion, as well as for if there's any public. We did send this out to some of the individuals who were concerned about this, and I'm not sure if they're online or not. But I would just, Jeannie, I think it would be nice to just give, if anyone has any public input or anything on each of those as we kind of go through each one, might be a good idea.
Yeah, sure. So anyone from the public wanted to speak about the Foxfield Road study? All right, so should we go on to the next one then, Jeff?
Yeah, and just so you know, I mean, we'll bring this forward as an official recommendation, probably in a meeting or so, in case we get any other feedback but our staff recommendation to this is pretty much that everything looks good out there now, and we won't be recommending any changes on the Foxfield intersection or area along there.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so on to the Lincoln Road speed study.
Yeah, you bet. Lincoln Road's a little bit of a different animal. It's got at least double the traffic volume. So I think Foxfield was somewhere around 500 vehicles a day. Lincoln is definitely up closer to 1,000 or more. What we found there, right by Bryn Hill, where we took the speed study, traffic was between 30 and 40 miles an hour. that was like the 10 mile an hour, pace where most people are traveling between 30 and 40. And at that location, it's marked 25. So in that case, we're definitely higher than the posted. So the folks that live in that area probably, have their perception is reality at that location. What we're, kind of recommending at this point would be just to the west of the 25 mile an hour speed zone to post a 35 mile an hour kind of transitional speed area. So you go from 45 west of the golf course and it hits 25 when you get to Bryn Hill. If we could put up a kind of a transitional 35 mile an hour, put some signs up, possibly put some, flags on those signs that really alert people that they're coming into an urban area. We're hoping that'll help regulate their speed a little bit. You can also consider either on the 35 speed zone or the 25. Once you get into town, you could consider one of the radar, your speed signs that you just put underneath. They can be solar powered, put underneath the speed limit so that it alerts people that they're, really speeding. Because honestly, in these transitional from rural to urban locations, a lot of people are speeding because it's natural to them. They've been coming from out, in the rural area, and they don't necessarily even know how much, they're going above the speed limit. So telling them what they're doing sometimes, scares them straight a little bit, I would say.
Yeah, we've had good luck with those out on Wolf Street. When they're working, I think they work well on Jefferson Street as you come into the village there. I think one of the things, Jeff, and maybe confirm this, is one of the things there was some confusion, at least if you kind of go down to that, keep going down a little bit and then zoom in on that figure right there if you can.
Yeah.
So there was just some confusion, I think, right now where some of the signs are located and they may not be at the best locations. And we kind of feel like maybe straightening some of that out would be good and kind of straighten out some of the ambiguity, because on some of them we have 25 on one side of the road and 35 on the other, or 45 on the other. We're just trying to straighten out some of that. I think a transitional zone is really appropriate. It allows people to kind of slow down from that Bryn Hill area down into where there are literally driveways pulling out onto Lincoln Road just to the east there. So I think this is a good solution. Again, oh, thanks, Elise. Yeah, perfect. So, and again, the traffic volumes and everything do not warrant any kind of stop control at that location.
That's right.
Who knows, as things develop to the south, or if and when they ever develop to the south, that might change. But for now, I think just some simple rearrangement of the speeds. We would have to run this through the village board for approval, just so it's something that, because it's an official speed designation change in the village.
Yep.
Jeannie, can I ask Jeff Rao a question?
Sure, yeah, then
Jeff. So someone who is very familiar, I live right here near this and see this, it is kind of the reality. I just want to say, I do like the recommended changes, because I know the signs need to be, and I also do like, I really do like the solar idea, because I think for me, when I am on Jefferson or something and I see that, if I'm going too fast, that really does make me slow down. So I like I like the recommendations that you have for Lincoln.
Yeah, for sure.
We'd probably bring that idea of a radar sign, try to incorporate that into a future budget year. In a capital plan for roadway improvements or something like that, Randy.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Amanda.
Thanks. Yeah, I have a couple of, I don't know, a comment and a question, I guess. So my question first is, I see why you'd want to step the speed down, because people tend to have the lead feet and slowing them down. Is the 35 mile per hour sign between the 25 and the 45 headed westbound, is that necessary? Do you have to step it up, or could we skip that and just because people are going to accelerate anyway.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point, Amanda. It is they will step up, right? It's we typically do that. Just in this case, the 35-mile-an-hour zone is a pretty short segment. You know, it's like sometimes it's quite a bit longer, and it's just almost out of courtesy to tell them that it's higher between. But in this case, it is such a short segment. I'd have to look at the MUTCD to make sure that there isn't some, you know, shall statement about having opposite direction speed limits like marked, you know, by the code, I guess. I don't think there is though. So you're probably right. It's probably not something that you would absolutely have to mark, you know, westbound.
Although I would think for wanting to keep people, I mean, I think it would be better just because as you're approaching Bryn Hill there, you know that it's 35 through there, you know, and I think that would be, and as long as there's nothing like Jeff said in the MUTCD design manual and everything, I think it's still just good to have there.
So that brings me to my comment part. I would think that because Bryn Hill, there's traffic coming out of there right at the end of a residential area, that it would be beneficial to keep it 25 until after Bryn Hill when you're headed westbound, to keep it slower, and then they can go up to 45. Is there any value to that, just to make that a safer intersection with lower speeds?
I would say no. I think that the thing is, I think honestly 25 is very challenging through this area because it opens wide open, and it's a country. You're like Jeff said, you're hitting the open road there, and there's a large berm without houses along there, so it's going to feel more open. It's kind of like when you're going out Wolf Street. You know, it feels open, but we have to kind of keep a lot of you know, signage out there to keep people low. I like the recommendation. We worked with SRF on kind of this. It would be my recommendation to kind of go with what we have shown here.
Okay, I'm good with it. I just was trying to figure out the rationale. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone from the public that wanted to speak on the Lincoln Road speed study? Doesn't look like it. All right, so we'll expect a forthcoming recommendation on that.
Yeah, I'll just bring that before you in the meeting, and if anyone has any comments as they go through any of that, or if the public has any comments, please, you know, bring them to our attention, and we'd be happy to bring those back, you know, when we have you guys vote on some of those. You want me to go to the third item?
Yes.
Okay. So this third item, you know, SRF is also the firm that we have hired to design. They did the study a year ago, and now we've hired them to do the design and construction documentation for the intersection at South Prairie Parkway and Janesville Street. And that is an intersection that we have deemed to be signalized this next year. And now they're just bringing a preliminary layout and kind of a short little presentation. Elise, if you can bring that up, that PowerPoint presentation. Thank you. And is it Jeff? Are you going to go through this, or?
I think Brian Jensko is on the line here, a design engineer for this one.
That's great.
Yep, I'm here.
There he is.
Brian. Okay, so why don't you can walk Elise through what you want on the presentation, and then kind of go through the layout, I believe.
Absolutely. All right, so just starting out with kind of a recap of why we're looking at this intersection, why we're doing the improvement we are. Like Jeff mentioned, there was an intersection control evaluation done on this intersection in 2020. And some highlights from that ICE report were Janesville Street. It's the main east-west thoroughfare through Oregon. It's providing direct connection to US 14, pretty heavy volume. And Perry Parkway, it's a connection for the residential neighborhoods to the south and west of Oregon to the Oregon High School campus and the ICE arena. And Perry Parkway also is a primary travel path for motorists to and from the high school. All the traffic data that was collected for the ICE report was collected in December of 2019, so pre-COVID, while school was in session, so all that data is valid. And then there was also a quick crash history done over the most recent 5-year period, and 14 crashes were identified. That crash history kind of indicated that younger motorists are having difficulty identifying gaps in vehicles along Janesville Street. There's also identified from the count heavy turn movements, and those movements were right turns from northbound Perry Street heading towards US 14, and then westbound lefts off of Janesville Street onto Perry Street. As part of the ICE report, 4 different intersection alternatives were reviewed. One was a 2-way stop condition, which is the existing condition, an all-way stop condition, a signal, and a roundabout. The 2-way stop condition and all-way stop condition, their level of service, their functioning failed, so those were discarded. The traffic signal met 2 of 3 warrants, and then the roundabout had significant right-of-way impacts to accommodate the footprint of the roundabout, so that was discarded. And then the signalized intersection was the preferred alternative from that ICE report. And then just want to note too, within that ICE report, it was mentioned that if signals were put in, it would be good to coordinate the signals at Perry, Wolf, and Park to make sure the progression was maintained and there's no spillbacks into any of the intersections. If you can go to the next sheet then, next slide. Awesome. So then after the ICE report, now we're here with the proposed alternative, the signalized intersection. And this signalized intersection, it includes designated turn lanes. The signals and configuration of the intersection will improve the function, how vehicles getting through, providing gaps, and the safety of the intersection for both the motorists and for pedestrians. Pedestrians will now have protected crossings with phases that allow them to cross without having to jump into traffic. And drivers will have protected turn movements and more gaps to allow them to navigate the intersection. The intersection, how it was laid out, we were designing it to help accommodate large trucks that have to access Wisco, which is on the southern part of the intersection. They have some pretty large trucks coming through here. And that resulted in us needing to widen the intersection a little bit on the southern half, pushing out the radius so that the trucks can make those turn movements without having to jump curb or jump into opposing traffic to make the movement. That widening of the intersection does result in some small right-of-way acquisition requirements on each of the 4 quadrants of the 4 properties, which in a second you'll see on the attached layout. So as far as the signal goes with the phasing, is being set up to accommodate the existing traffic and configurations at Perry, Parkway, Wolf Street, and Park Street. If and when a development occurs at the Wolf Street on the north leg, the timing at this signal will be reviewed and modified if necessary. As part of this project, we'll also be doing some small water main replacement along Janesville Street, just upgrading and upsizing it under the new pavement section we're putting down. Right now, traffic-wise, it is anticipated that Perry Parkway will be closed during construction, but 2-way traffic will be maintained along Janesville Street throughout, and at a minimum, it'll be maintained during working hours with flagging, maintaining the 2-way flow. Right now, the anticipated schedule is bidding here late spring, early summer around May, and construction sometime around July, August of this year. And then the next slide is obviously the layout of the proposed improvements. You can see along the southern part, some of that curb line is pushed out to help accommodate those larger truck turns. And on the north side, just want to point out we are showing widening that north side of Perry Parkway just a little bit to accommodate a parking lane on the east half of Perry Parkway, just to maintain some parking along that leg. And with that, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions from board members on this? And then anyone from the public want to speak on this one? This is one that we've gotten, had quite a bit of discussion and gotten a lot of public comment over the last several months. So it's nice to be moving forward on this. Yes, Chief Pegenkoff.
Maybe just more of a comment. So when we initially started looking at this intersection and the crossing of the students, the issues came down to mostly our morning traffic, which involved buses and students, and then the evening traffic. The morning traffic is its own challenge, but the evening traffic, I am hoping that this traffic light now at Park Street and Janesville Street may take some of the congestion away from this intersection. The reason I say that is one of the reasons high school drivers would go southbound on what is that there? North Perry, was because there really was no way to get across Janesville Street to head outbound out of Oregon. It was too hard. It's just too much traffic on Janesville Street, and it was not controlled enough. So they would go to this intersection here that we have up. Now that we have a more controlled intersection at Park, it allows for a different outlet. So like, we don't know how high school students are going to take this right now, but what I can tell you though is for my employees, including myself, I avoid this intersection altogether now, thankfully, because I can just go to the stoplight at Park in Janesville and easily make my left turn to get out of town. So I'm hoping that'll help buffer some of this too. Just a thought I had as I was listening.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Other thoughts from comments or community members or board members? Yeah, Amanda.
I just thought of a quick question here. I'm looking on the layout, and the stoplight location is right in the center of the intersection. Does that mean it's overhead? It's like a four-way hanging, or are these going to be on posts, or what'll that look like?
No, that's not a, that's,
That's just a symbol in the intersection to identify that we're putting a signal in there. It will be on a standard signal on posts and the 4 quadrants.
Okay, thank you. It's in Michigan, they hang them, so I thought, are we changing format?
That's true. That's a good question. Yeah, some places do hang them up there.
All right, Jeff, and then you'll bring back items that you need from us on this.
Part of this also, I mean, in the very near future, we need to plan that or schedule that as a, it's a kind of a public hearing. Public hearings have been really, or public meetings have been really difficult. We did a few last summer, fall outside, and we're not going to try that in February and March here, but we might try to do a virtual public meeting and just see if anyone wants to attend. But in general, I mean, I have been in personal communication with all 4 quadrant owners and been sharing all this information with them, and even working with them. We've kind of worked some of the little design features up with some of them to help accommodate some of their concerns. I will be bringing next meeting, I'll be bringing the right-of-way acquisition contract before you for it's another firm other than SRF that'll be doing the right-of-way acquisition. We hope it'll be a very simple right-of-way acquisition, but you never know. Sometimes we have to go through the whole process.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any last questions, board members? All right. Well, thank you, Jeffs.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to compliment SRF. I think they've done a nice job, and it's a very tight little area, and we're not trying to, take a lot of right away here at all, but we're also trying to accomplish all of the goals, and they've done a really nice job of fitting the turn lanes in. So we have dedicated turn lanes everywhere, accommodating the larger truck turning movements, as well as, just honestly getting the safety of pedestrians in there. Mm-hmm. And we will be adding to this, Jeff, I think we talked about this once before, but we'll be adding those special crosswalk treatments to this intersection as well, like what we have out at Park Street. That's actual what do you call that? That plasticized stuff that's actually embedded into the asphalt. And
sure.
Very easily seen and in very, very low maintenance. It's expensive, but it's a good investment.
Very good.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, SRF.
Thank you.
All right, moving along, we have approval of vouchers number 14 tonight. We have vouchers in the amount of $176,881.52.
Jeannie, I think we have minutes to do.
Oh, wait, we have minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
All right, I already crossed it off. So we have approval, sorry, we'll go back to minutes. We have minutes from September 14th, December 7th of 2020, and then February 1st of 2021. Unless someone objects, I'd entertain a motion to approve all of those at once. Motion by Jacobson to approve all, and then second by Peterson. Thank you. All right, any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we have vouchers. We have vouchers tonight in the amount of $176,881.52. Would someone like to make a motion to approve those to get those on the table, please?
I'll make that motion.
Second by Stitch. Thank you. All right, what questions do we have for staff? Anything tonight? Stitch, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could pull up 6772. Unless I'm reading that wrong, it seems like the skid loader needs quite a few tires of different styles. Is that accurate, or is that, can you help me understand that, really, Jeff?
No, so those are, when we buy tires, Gary will split that amongst many different accounts because we use the skid loader for many different things. So it's probably, it was $1,000, $1,060 for the set of 4 tires for the skid loader, but we split them up amongst 7 different accounts. Yeah, I see how that kind of looks like a lot of tires. It's just 4 tires.
Yeah, it's like racing tires and tires.
We have the racing slicks that we put on for the summer fun days.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
All right, other questions on vouchers? All right, Peggy, would you like to do a roll call vote on that then?
Peterson,
Yes.
Glish,
Yes.
Jacobson,
Yes.
Stitch,
Yes.
Carpenter,
Yes.
Bollig.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Going on to item number 15, proclamations and announcements. First, we have board comments. What board comments do we have tonight? All right, staff comments. First, we have a thank you to the election workers and village staff for conducting the spring primary election. We had a 20.53% turnout, which actually I think is pretty good for a primary.
Yep.
Yeah, so thank you, Peggy and staff.
So if I could, I'd just like to give an extra special thank you to Candy and Joy for their preparation of the spring primary because they worked very hard on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I, of course, also thank you to village staff and election workers. So does anybody have any questions about anything? All right.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for, it's always nice to be one of those communities where there is no news coming out of the election.
Mm-hmm.
Everything went very smoothly. No ballots lost. You know, it's a good item to stay out of the news with. So thank you, staff, for doing an amazing job. Item 2, we have some upcoming virtual meetings, including the village administrator search. What would you like to highlight there, Mike?
Just next Monday, March 1st, I'm going to try to keep that just to going into closed session to look at the video interviews because it's going to be a long meeting according to Kevin. So I'm going to try to leave most of the other stuff, the regular stuff to the March 8th meeting.
Okay.
Yep. I'm going to do my best. You never know.
Except for that piece of equipment that Jeff needs.
Yeah, I know. I'm holding him off. I'll hold him off for a week.
All right. All right. So everybody has those meetings on their calendars. All right. Going on to item 16, communication and miscellaneous business. Item A is discussion and possible action regarding Computer Magic's 2021 proposal. Note that Computer Magic information received or reviewed at the December 21st board meeting We have a recommended motion to accept their 2021 proposal. Anyone care to make that motion? Motion by, thank you. Motion by Jacobson and second by Stitch. Questions on this from anyone? Looks pretty straightforward. All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item B is status of village administrator search. We've set a March 5th deadline for village residents to submit interview questions to the village administrator recruiter. Questions should be emailed to Kevin Brunner, who's a consultant that we've hired to help us with this process, and his email is listed in the packet. And then we need to discuss in-person attendance of board meetings on March 12th.
Jeannie, it would be nice to know, because we're actually going to do a test run with Paul this week from OSA Media. It would just be nice to know if board members know they're not going to be here, or they are going to be here. It'd just be nice to know that so we can plan for that.
So basically, you want to know who's going to be there in person and who's going to do Zoom?
If we could do that, it'd be great. I mean, Jerry, you've told me you're probably going to do virtual, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Do you want to know that like right now, or just have us email you?
Maybe send me an email if they could
Okay.
next couple of days, please.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
All right, item C, discussion and possible action regarding the wastewater treatment plant, equipment and lighting upgrade. We have a couple of recommended motions on here. First one is to approve the proposal from Searle Electric in the amount of $7,997 for lighting upgrades at the wastewater treatment plant administration building. And then we have a second recommended motion to approve the quote from Mid-States Equipment in the amount of $10,261 for a new SCAG 841X mower. So let's do these one at a time. Would someone like to make that first recommended motion for the Searle Electric bill? Motion by Peterson, thank you. Second by Jacobson. All right, any questions on that one? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And then would someone like to make that second motion to approve the quote from Mid-States Equipment? Motion by Stitch, second by Peterson. Questions on this one? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah, I never want equipment.
At least you didn't put
I
appurtenance.
even have questions. Nice job. All right. Item D, discussion and possible action regarding the Highlands of Netherwood Park building. This is payment application number 4, the final. So we have a recommended motion to approve the final payment number 4 to Meyer Construction in the amount of $32,068 for the Highlands of Netherwood Park restroom and shelter. Someone like to make that motion? Motion by Glish, thank you. We have a second. Second by Peterson. All right. Any questions on that item?
It sounds so exciting and so official. It's very
Well, it is. It's like,
Mhm.
I mean, how often do we like build a brand new park and restroom and
Well,
shelter?
that's exciting. Yeah, that's exciting. Yes. This is just the final retainage that we're
Yeah.
releasing.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, item E. This is discussion and possible action regarding the urban non-point source planning grant preparation. We have a recommended motion to authorize Rupert Milkey to prepare an urban non-point source planning grant on behalf of the village for a not to exceed amount of $4,000. Someone like to make that motion? Get that going. Motion by Peterson and second by Jacobson. Questions on this or thoughts?
Let me just give you a little background. We are growing, and as one of the things of growing over 10,000 people, which we are semi-officially over 10,000 people, which puts us into a MS4 community, which is Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. And what that does is that just puts us into a higher level of accountability to Department of Natural Resources on how we handle our storm sewer systems. And it puts us at, I mean, even though we're cleaning our storm sewers now and checking for, they call it illicit discharges and checking outfalls and everything like that, it just puts us in an accountability mode with DNR that we have to do that. step one of that is to generate this stormwater, what do we call it here? A municipal storm sewer system. Where did I have it down here somewhere? It's the the municipal stormwater management program. And basically that's kind of like a, we just got done with the, study for the wastewater plant. This is kind of like the study of our stormwater system. So I will say one thing is I put in their number of can easily exceed $40,000. It's actually more likely going to be $60,000 to $80,000 depending on, and we'll go out for, bids for that from engineers and everything, but it could be $60,000 to $80,000 cost to the village to be able to develop that. So this is a grant. I do have quite a bit of experience with getting these for clients back when I was a consultant, and it's 50% forgiveness. So it's a good grant to go after. I think it's money well spent, and Rooker Milky has a lot of experience in preparing these. So I would recommend it's money well spent to go after this grant. And when we get the grant, assuming we will get the grant, that'll put us in a nice position for doing this then over the next 2 years.
Sounds good. Any questions on that? All right. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks. Thank you, Joe. Item F is discussion and possible action regarding the letter from the Oregon Youth Center Director, Precious Woodley, regarding fundraising of the Youth Center. Our 2021 budget includes a $12,000 contribution for the center. We have a recommended motion to direct village staff to send that budgeted amount to the Youth Center. Someone like to make that motion, please? Motion by Jacobson, second by Peterson. That was a nice letter by Precious. We appreciate the update on Youth Center during the pandemic. They're doing good work. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item G, discussion and possible action regarding the Senior Center Administrative Assistant job description and advertising to fill the position. We have a recommended motion to approve the revised job description and authorize that advertising. Someone like to make that motion? Motion by Stitch, a second by Glish. Any questions on that one for Rachel? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Item H is we have an FYI from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation regarding a new flex lane on Madison Beltline. I was driving on the Beltline today, and they're already posting messages to expect work starting like March 2nd or something. So can't wait to see how that works out. Everything on the Beltline goes so smoothly. Yes, fun times. Item I, discussion and possible action regarding cost reimbursement agreement with Forward Development. We have a recommended motion to approve that cost reimbursement agreement. Someone like to make that motion? Motion by Jacobson, second by Peterson. Questions on this one? Yes, Jerry.
Would someone from staff care to explain what this agreement accomplishes?
It makes the developer give us a deposit that we hold until the project's over with, Jerry. And then we are still billing them while the project's ongoing. And we keep that deposit in case for some reason the developer would walk away. We don't have to chase them down to make the last couple payments.
And what project is this again?
This is for Forward Development. This is for the Tarkenton property. They're annexing into the village.
Okay. And what is that going to be developed into?
Apartments.
Thank you.
Yep.
So say that's not on tonight's agenda from planning. No, I think, yeah, never mind. Yeah, the planning commission has been starting to have conceptual discussions, that one, Jerry, for apartments.
Yep.
Very good. I just wanted the public to know what we're talking about, that's all.
Yeah, good idea. All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve that cost reimbursement agreement. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a review of the police department report for December 2020 and January 2021. Chief, did you want to give us some highlights on this?
Sure. So with December, just a few to highlight. We did our Shop with a Cop event. It was modified this year, obviously, because of the pandemic, but we were able to help 4 families by taking a list they provided and using donated money, and we went and bought gifts for them for Christmas. Our staff had a wonderful time. We seem to be a department for our size that the most of our staff actually participates. We had more staff than we had kids, families to shop for. So we really enjoy that. Operation Joy, the toy drive, our SRO helps out with that, collecting toys. We collected the most toys this year out of all the years I've been here. So I just incredibly appreciative of our community donating those toys. Healthy Minds provided some supervisor training as far as officer wellness. So our supervisors can be best prepared to identify if a staff member is having a difficult time and then how to proceed. I thought this one might catch the eye of people looking at the packet. So we implemented the use of force reporting through the Bureau of Justice Information Analysis. So this is required of all law enforcement agencies in Wisconsin now. But to be clear, it's a very small piece of reporting as far as I'm concerned. We're required to report every month, but it's only incidents where a death or great bodily harm has been involved with the use of force. So obviously most of ours are 0. That still though does not replace our use of force reporting we do on our side. We actually take it quite a few levels up for our department, and that's because of the accreditation process. So there's our own use of force reporting process that everyone can easily find on our website and our policies. And if there's any questions, I'd certainly be happy to answer further on our policy. We are still in the hiring process for some police officers, and it's going well. And in January, December and January, a lot of my involvement was with headquarters, working with them, and just the pandemic. And then moving into January, celebrated Crossing Guard Recognition Week. We got some great crossing guards. Some of you may have seen, I released a video. We gave a life-saving award to one of our crossing guards, Bessie. She actually was flagged down by a mom who was driving, and the mom had noticed her child was choking in the back seat on a piece of candy. Mom got out, started screaming. Our crossing guard ran over right away, did the Heimlich maneuver on the child and saved the child's life. So we got some fantastic crossing guards and just really proud of them, including our other staff that received awards as well. And yeah, I think the rest of it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'd be happy to take any questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Chief. Any questions on those reports?
I have a question.
Sure, go for it.
How do you recruit people for the giveaway?
Oh, so the school helps us with that.
Okay.
They identify families that would be a good fit, and normally we take the child with us when we go shopping, and then after we go shopping, we go for pizza together, and then we wrap the presents, and then we take them back to their home with all of the presents wrapped. And it's pretty cute. You'll see some of the family members already start opening up the presents because they're so excited. This year we were given a list, and unfortunately I had to shop for a lot of makeup, and I was way over my head. I had to have one of the people from Target help me. But yeah, just a blast to do.
Thank you.
That's a good community program. We appreciate that. All right, thank you, Chief. All right, item K, discussion and possible action regarding the joint review board members. We would recommend motion to appoint Trustee Bollig as a village board representative and recommend Mark Buelow as a citizen member on the Joint Review Board. Would someone like to make that motion, please?
I'll make that motion because it's my reward for doing so well in the primary.
Hey, that's why I put it on the agenda, Jerry. How did you know?
What's that?
How did you know that? That's why I put it on the agenda. Good.
Well, I know.
It's your reward for being a veteran member of the board. You have all the knowledge of all of these districts. And has Mark, okay, so sorry, we have a motion by Bollig. Is there a second before I start? Okay, motion by, or second by Stitch. Have we asked Mark Buelow to do this yet?
Yeah. Actually, this is what happened. Jerry made me think something at the last board meeting. He said, "Who serves on it?" And I said, "Well, you and Mark." And then I realized, well, maybe I need to ask the board to reappoint you. So, and I asked Matt about it. Matt said, just do it to be safe. So yeah, Mark's he's coming to the meeting Monday. Yep.
That's awesome. I mean, you think about the two people that possibly have the most historical knowledge of districts, financing in the village, and that would be Mark Buelow, who was our public works director for like 90,000 years, and Jerry Bollig, who used to hunt ducks in J.C. Park. So I think it's a great combo.
Sorry, I brought it up.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, Jerry. It's a great combo.
Yeah, it's a privilege.
But you get to hang out with Mark. Although I guess you guys don't do that in person, do you? It's like Zoom.
We're doing this is Monday morning at 9 a.m. We're doing a virtual.
Oh man, you don't even get to hang out with Mark Buelow. Sorry.
No, I know. That's what I missed this year.
Yep.
All right. So going on, report of committees. Item A, this is the February 4th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting. This is just information only. We had a good conceptual discussion with fiduciary real estate development regarding extending the Bergamot townhome development to the parcels along Highway CC and Bergamot Boulevard. So 3 years ago, fiduciary came to the Planning Commission and asked for this very topic to happen. And the Planning Commission turned them down and said, no, that's currently zoned commercial. We want you to try to sell those parcels a little bit harder, go try and sell them for another year and then come back. Well, they went and tried to sell them for the next 3 years and they still haven't sold. So fiduciary came back to planning on February 4th and said, we'd really like to build more of the townhomes that are already adjacent to those. They have a waiting list, I guess, for those. And there was just a little pushback from planning, but they got enough positive reinforcement, I think, that they will come back with an official request to do that rezone. So and
amend the comp plan, Jeannie.
Yeah. So it's a complicated process, but I think it'll be coming to the village board in several months.
Yep.
Yeah. So just kind of keep you updated on that. Any questions on that? Item 18, we have some minutes that don't require action. We have some minutes from the January 7th, 2021 Oregon Area Fire EMS District Commission meeting. Any questions on that for Randy or Jenna? You guys are both on that commission. Look like it. All right. We have no unfinished business, no new business. We do have some future agenda items coming up. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Bollig, second by Peterson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you everyone for a very, very productive meeting. Appreciate all of you.